Good evening, everybody. How much time do you get to spend each week with your close friends? Maybe there's a little pocket of time in life in our teenage years or in college where we get to spend quite a bit of time with our close friends. But, at a certain point, one day you look up and you're a dad and you have a kid and you have another kid on the way, and you enjoy a few hours a week with your friends. If you can see your friends once or twice a week, you've really done great. And yet, in those few hours that we all get with our close friends, there's a lot of influence that our friends have on us, right? You can look and think about some of the things that we do every day, the music that we listen to, and the books that we read, and the things that we like, and our hobbies, and even who we vote for, where we live. We can think about all the choices that we make and realize that our friends have a big impact on who we are, and that the people that we're close with help to shape us. So that's the case with someone who we might get a few hours a week with. I want you to think about a friend who you got a few hours a day with, right? How nice would that be? What if there was a friend who you could spend time with in the morning and in the evening and in your free time, and you got several hours a day? How much influence would that friend have on your life? How much would the things that friend talks about impact you and rub off on you? And what if that friend wasn't really a friend at all? What if instead it was a little black box that we all carry around with us all the time? The average American spends about 3.5 hours a day on their smartphones, watches TV for 4 hours a day, and is on social media for 2 hours a day. That's the average. Maybe you're more, maybe you're less. Maybe you're way less. But that's still a lot, and that's a lot of influence. And what I want us to think about for just a couple of minutes are a couple of thoughts around the media that we're taking in, whether it's on our phone or whether it's through a computer or a TV, and just challenge us to excel still more. Let's think for a couple minutes about the quality and the quantity of the media that we're taking in. And I'd encourage you to open up to James chapter 1. That's where our main couple of verses are going to come from. James chapter 1. Let's start by thinking about the quality of the media that we consume. All right, James 1 and verse 27. It's a verse we know well. Religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this: to visit orphans and widows in their affliction, and to keep oneself unstained from the world. So we're focusing on that back half of the verse. Pure religion is to keep yourself unstained from the world. I like how the NIV puts it. It says to keep yourself from getting polluted by the things of the world. And a lot of times that's what the media that we take in is doing. Sometimes it's blatant, and there's something that, okay, we can just easily identify. That's something I shouldn't really be taking in, but oftentimes it's maybe more subtle. And so I want us to think, are the things that I'm taking in pointing me towards condoning sin, towards cheering on or endorsing sinful relationships, towards filling my head with foul language or filling my heart with lust? What about the news or the social media that we're scrolling through? Is it pointing us towards unkind words? Is it filling us with dislike or even hatred for people who aren't like us and don't agree with us on certain issues? And is it planting seeds of disrespect towards others or towards those in authority? Go back up in James chapter 1 to verse 21. In James 1:21 he says, "Therefore put away all filthiness and rampant wickedness, and receive with meekness the implanted word, which is able to save your souls." I love the principle of the verse because it says to put away filthiness and wickedness, and that makes room in our hearts that then we can receive with meekness the implanted word. But if we have so much gunk that's cluttering us and that's filling our mind and filling our hearts, we don't have room to really receive the things that are from above. It's similar to Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 23, which was a verse that we hit a lot with the middle schoolers a couple years ago because it's a simple verse with a big truth. Proverbs 4:23, "Keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flow the springs of life." And so I want us to think about what's the quality of things that I'm putting into my heart, and can I do a better job at keeping it clean and pure? So that's quality. Let's talk quantity for just a second. And we rattled off the stats of the hours and hours that we all tend to spend on some form of a screen or another. And I'm not trying to make you feel just terrible about that. My screen time notification comes in every week, and it makes me feel terrible as is, and I don't need anybody else piling onto that. I have enough self-loathing when I see multiple hours a day staring into the void of the phone. But, I really do. I want it to at least put it on our minds and on our radar. How much are we spending our time on things that are frivolous? We all need some time to have recreation and leisure, and that's fine and good, but where is our priority? And for me, I feel a lot of times like, if I just had one more hour in the day, then I could really get done all the things that I need to do, then I could accelerate my spiritual growth, and yet, the truth is I probably do have that hour, and it's just a question of how am I spending it, where am I allocating it? Ephesians chapter 5, verses 15 and 16. You can look over there with me if you like. Ephesians 5, 15 and 16. They say, "Look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time, because the days are evil." And I appreciate how he says, making the best use of the time, because that resets the bar to a high standard. Making the best use of the time, day in and day out. Am I making the best use of my time? If I'm spending endless hours with media all the time, then there's probably room for growth when it comes to making the best use of the time and being a steward of the time and the energy that God has given us. So that's our encouragement for tonight, is just to think a little bit more critically and just to have this circulate again in our minds. What's the quality and what's the quantity of the things that I'm taking in on the phone, on the computer, on the TV, and to find an area where we can make this a little bit better, where we can trim back, where we can make a little bit of extra room in our hearts so that there is space for the implanted word of God to take root, to get down in us, to shape us and change us into the people that we all want to be. If there's anything we can do tonight to help you, if we can offer encouragement,